Hey y'all, Big Tim here. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Old School and Bass with Big Tim. So I realize I've left you guys high and dry with no video content to watch the past couple weeks, and I apologize for that. But it has been super busy around here. There's been some crazy things happening, and it all started. I sold a rental house that I owned. It was the house that I lived in before Laura and I got married, and I rented it out as opposed to selling it right away, and it's been a pretty good little situation for us, and finally decided to sell it because the market was perfect. And there's been some dwindling little nitpicky little issues since the actual sale closed, but not that bad. But that was a good thing for us. So with that, we decided to do some work in the backyard, and that's been kind of hectic trying to get people to heck, even answer phone calls these days, trying to find the right contractors to do the right jobs. And I think I got the right couple of guys now, so hopefully that'll be starting soon. And, the backyard area, which we plan on spending a whole lot more time in next year, will be a lot better place to hang out. So I've also been trying to get ready for the Kentucky Bass Nation tournament, the state championship actually, on Rough River Lake. And the week before that tournament is to happen, actually the Friday before it happens, Lori's in an automobile accident. Now relax, she's fine. She got bruised up a little bit, but her little car that she really liked is probably totaled. We haven't heard officially yet, but I'm pretty sure that car is going to be totaled. And she's right now without a car, so I've been shuffling her back and forth. And I'll show you all the pictures of the car here. So, like I said, Lori is okay, and basically, if you ask her what happened, all she heard was tires squealing, and all of a sudden she was into the wall. But near as I can tell from the descriptions I've heard, she was in the middle lane of northbound I-75 in Cincinnati, going to a funeral, and somebody in the left-hand lane decided to lock their brakes up for no reason. One of the witnesses stated that there was no one in front of them. So I don't know if this was a road games, road rage type of thing or what. But when that person locked up their brakes, the person behind them, and trying to keep from hitting the guy in front of her, veered to the right and hit Lori in the back driver's side door, and kind of did like a little pit maneuver, swung her around where she hit the inside retaining wall, and then kind of swung back over and hit the other wall. And then she was hit by a drywall truck, I think. And yeah, it's just a big mess. And we believe her little car, her favorite car, is totaled. We don't know yet. We haven't had word from the insurance companies. It might be a fight for a little while. We don't really know. But that happened the Friday before the Bass Nation Championship. So before all of this was going on, I knew that I had bad tires on my trailer, and I wanted to get new tires for my boat trailer. And while my boat was down getting worked on for the lower unit, I talked to the guys down at Anglers Outpost, and they told me, tires might be difficult to find, but they didn't do them anyway, to make some calls and see what I could find. So I called a couple of my local guys that I've dealt with for years, and one of the guys, John, he says, I got one tire. I was like, well, one isn't going to do me any good. So I called the other one. He said he had three nationwide. So he told me that if I found them online or whatever, he would mount them. And so I ordered four from Amazon. I found them on Amazon. Three of them were coming from Michigan, and one was coming from Pennsylvania. The three from Michigan showed up here no problem. The one from Pennsylvania, lost. I don't know, just lost. It showed up in Sharonville, Ohio, which should have been for distribution here. And then from Sharonville, it went to Louisville. And that didn't make any sense. And after that, it was just gone. So now I'm trying to scramble to find a fourth tire. And I decided to try a couple other online places. So I got one from Walmart. Well, Walmart sent the totally wrong tire, wrong size. Nothing about it was what I wanted. So I shipped that back. It was then that I remembered that John had told me that he had one tire left. So I called him up. He had it. It was amazing when I got out there. He says, "You ain't going to believe this, but I just got 4 more of those tires yesterday." So anybody looking for Carlisle 14-inch trailer tires, give Steele's Hometown Tire out in Burlington, Kentucky a call. They've got 4 because I took one of them. They got 4 left. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to mount them because his crew basically was all down with COVID. In fact, he was in the shop by himself with one other guy. He was going to send that other guy to get tested for COVID. And it was a bad situation for John. But hopefully his business is going to be able to make it through this. And he may have had to shut down for a couple of weeks. I don't know. But I would have loved to have been able to have him mount them. But he didn't have the manpower. So I went to another local place that has treated me real good on my truck. And I had this all scheduled to the T. Everything had to work perfectly. So like I said, I'm shuffling Lori around because she's not got no car. And she was getting ready to go to Florida. She'd already planned a vacation to Florida. So I worked all day Monday. And on Tuesday, I had to take her up and get her possessions out of her car. And that took all day. And then I closed. And Wednesday, she was going to the airport. So I had that small little window in the morning to go get that done. But I had to go to the doctor first, just a regular checkup. Everything's good. He gave me a little help for my back, gave me a little steroid to get to the state championship, which really was a big deal. And I went to get the tires changed. On the way up there, I decided, it's been a while. I think I'm going to get an oil change too. So the guy said, yeah, no problem. We're going to disconnect the boat. We'll do the oil change on the truck, and then we'll go back and do the boat. No problem. So they did the oil change, and it took a lot longer than I thought. But this place is normally used to people dropping their stuff off. It's not a quick oil change place, tire place, anything like that. So that's cool. I'm fine with that. But in the process of jacking my boat to change the tires, it was on a slight incline, a very slight incline. And I guess that slight little incline and having the weight shifted bent the trailer jack. It would not go up or down if you cranked it. It wouldn't go anywhere. And he's told me he'd make it right, and that's fine, but I didn't really have time to wait on that because I was already late for work. So I decided what I was going to do was I would use a floor jack that I always keep with me anyway to raise the trailer off of the tongue of the, or off the hitch of the truck. So I had to use a floor jack all weekend, which actually was probably better than using the crank. But anyway, I still have a bent jack on my boat. So that's been an issue. But we did get the tires changed, which was awesome. The negative part was they told me I had a bad problem with my truck. Got a wheel bearing out that I need to get fixed right away. But didn't affect my trip. He said I'd be fine for the trip. So we finally get to go down to Rough River. Here's that. $79 degrees on the water. You believe that?
It's still pretty warm, ain't it?
It's very warm. 79. Wow.
Sun's shining right on it, too.
Yeah.
Little boat ride.
Yeah, that's good. Got it?
Ghost bug!
He did the gill rattle when he jumped. Did you hear it? Most of the time that's reserved for bigger fish. He did. Not much of one.
kind of yellow they are. Mm-hmm. Wonder why that is. Well, it didn't move. Got one? I got something. Going sideways. Very big. Round trap? I know what that sound is. Don't eat it. I didn't hit nothing that time. I did nothing all day. You got no batteries if
So there we are, dead in the water. I really don't know what happened. Didn't feel like we hit anything. You hear me say that. But it just was odd. You know, it just died. It was almost like the kill switch had been pulled. So, you know, we called some friends to see about coming and getting us, but in the meantime, they had some things to do that they were taking care of. And we ran into a guy that was fishing the opposite bank. So I yelled out to him to ask if he'd be courteous enough to tow us back. And unbeknownst to me, it turns out to be Kyle from Anglers Outpost and Marine. And he just happened to be there. I mean, thank you, God. You know, that really worked out. And so we got Kyle to tow us back to a little ramp. And then he offered to take Greg back to my truck. Greg drive my truck back and bring it and pull the boat out. So everything was working pretty decently. I sat on the water for about an hour in the dark by myself. Nothing really happening, nothing going on around me. And, you know, your thoughts run through your head. And I kept thinking to myself, you know, is this God's way of telling me that maybe I should just not be fishing this tournament? Or is it God's way of asking me how bad do I want to fish this tournament? I still don't know the answer to that, but, you know, I wasn't going to give up. I went ahead and, you know, each process or each obstacle that I came to, we found a way to work through it. And, you know, at some point, though, you have to wonder how many obstacles are you willing to go through before you think, well, you know what, enough's enough. Let's cut our losses and be done. I've gone through that many times in my life where I refused to give up. And if I'd have given up, you know, halfway further down the chain of obstacles, I would have been a lot better off, whether it be financially, time-wise, whatever. Sometimes you got to know when to cut your losses. But this time, I thought we could get through this. We got back to the room and everything else and spent a little time looking on the internet, and we found that one of the local boat dealers who supposed to have a really good reputation, they opened early in the morning. So we just hooked up the boat, drove over there, and we were actually there a little bit before they opened. And I know when I have customers that come in the store and they're there before I get there and they're wanting me to do something instantly before you have your coffee, and everything else, generally sets you back a little bit. So I let them, get in there. I give them about 5 or 6 minutes to gather their composure and everything else. And I went in and, told them what was going on with the boat. And the old boy behind the counter looked me dead in the eye and said, "Well, we got a lot of winterizations to get to. I don't think we'll be able to look at your boat today." God's honest truth. So that really ruffled my feathers, and I decided, well, I'll never set foot in that place again. Like I said, it's one of the bigger, most well-known, reputable, supposedly reputable boat dealers in that area. So, yeah, never mind with them. As I was walking out and getting in my truck, I decided to call my buddy at Anglers Outpost. And I know they don't open until 9 o'clock, and it was 8 o'clock, but I figured he'd been up and moving around. And I asked him what he wanted me to do. Do you want me to go to the Lancaster location, or do you want me to take it to the Shepherdsville location, which I have never been to? Don't know anybody there. And he told me to go ahead and go to Shepherdsville. He would call ahead and have the mechanic ready to work with me. And I'll tell you, that mechanic there at the Shepherdsville Anglers Outpost and Marine, his name is Steve. Phenomenal person. Just all around good person and a phenomenal mechanic. Just the combination of both. Just really good people. He spent 5 to 6 hours on my boat while we waited. We took a nap out in the parking lot, and we went and had lunch and, various little things, drove around a little bit. But he spent 5.5 to 6 hours on my boat, and that's it. Nope, nothing else. I even made sure, I was like, "Steve, you got to go in and take your lunch. Please take your lunch." Because he was committed. And he got us back on the water. We found that there was a relay in the push to start that was giving us an issue. And so that was bypassed, where I would just use the actual key ignition. So I was able to get back on the water. He ran it through the riggers. They've got really cool, if you've never been under, they got something that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Every boat dealer should have this. It's kind of like a swimming pool, except it's a boat ramp, and then you back your boat down, you leave it on the trailer, you fasten the buckles, and they can put it in gear and run the snot out of it. And he did. Matter of fact, Greg says that boat's probably never been run as hard as it is in this pool. And he's right. It probably hadn't been run that hard. Steve put it through the riggers. He had the computer up to it and everything else. And really felt good when I walked away from there. Didn't feel good about what I had to spend, but hey, that's the way it is. When you have a boat, you're going to spend money on it. And that relay in there is, 8 years old? My boat's getting older. It's going to have some problems coming up with it. So I'm totally cool with it. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming Anglers Outpost for charging me money, because that's what it took. I'm just aggravated about spending money, period. But that's the way it is. You want something fixed, you got to pay for it. I didn't know how to do it. I sure didn't know how to do it. And like I said, Steve took at least 5.5 to 6 hours. It may have been more. I don't know. And that guy, like I said, he's a phenomenal human being. Really, really love the guy. That's, unfortunately, I like the guys down in Lancaster, but I might be taking my boat down to Steve, because I really like the way he went through it. But we were able to get back on the water. By the time we got back to our hotel, it was already time to go to the meeting. And I just said we were able to get on the water. I meant for the tournament. So we used up my floor jack to get the trailer tongue off the hitch, and went to the meeting. And then we're ready to start the tournament. We've got our draw partner and everything else. So tune in next week, and I'll have you the footage from the tournament. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you the next time on Old School and Bass at Big Tim.